Daez podcast.
Direct, thanks for making the time to be part of the pod. And we were talking before this earlier, and you were talking about starting stuff. You started a film school, and I know you're starting a lot. You're part of a lot of different things. But I'm curious. Like, I want to start with a light question. What meal brings you the most comfort these days?
Meal?
Yeah, a meal. Like, what kind of food brings you the most comfort, and why?
That's an easy question. I love Indian food.
Indian food.
Uh,
Specifically,
s-
what do you like to eat?
so I mastered cooking biryani. So it's shrimp biryani, vegetarian biryani, chicken biryani. I learned to cook it because for me, para bang like a week is not complete until I've had my biryani fix. And even the preparation of the spices and the onions and all of the ingredients, it's very, I guess it's technical and at the same time systematic. And parang ano parang the philosophy of preparing the food, especially Indian food. And then you realize parang why did the old world, why did the Europeans try to conquer Asia? It's because of spices. And everything is explained through the biryani. So yeah.
That's so interesting. And I'm a big fan of Indian food too. I'm curious, like, what started this, like, this love for Indian food, and like, are there any memories attached to your first encounter with Indian food?
It's funny, my first encounter, because I lived in Singapore in 1993, and then I was doing TV commercials also. So there was one time we were I'm very adventurous when it comes to food. But when we were doing post production, in the editing, so the production manager handed me a list of the lunch available for us that they'll order, and it says there a very strange name, chicken biryani. So I said I want to try this one, so I tried it, and from then on, parang yeah, 'cause it's so, I mean, you could never, but this is just rice and chicken, and it's so good. So, inaano ko na parang ano, this is, I'm giving away a business idea, but sabi ko, parang it's something that if I wanna introduce Indian food to a Filipino, and I've been very successful doing so. Kasi I always tell them you start with chicken biryani. So you don't have to know it's not so spicy. It's just something you're familiar with, chicken and rice. Tapos, so I said, if I'm gonna open an Indian restaurant, it will just specialize on biryani. And when I was doing my research, it turned out, even Erwan Yusuf in sa feature ano niya, channel niya, they even have a special of the best biryani restaurants in Manila. And you never realize there's so many new up and coming restaurants na ano lang nila, ang dish lang nila, or at least ang specialty nila is always biryani. So it turns out that Filipinos, and I've seen yung mga literally the karinderya, like people who would cook, and put it in plastic lunch boxes, disposable lunch boxes, and sell it sa streets, sa Jolly Jeep. Nauubos ang chicken biryani. Because it's already a meal in itself. It has ulam and it has, of course, rice. No? So it's very Asian. So, so sabi ko something na biryani is the ano, is the endorser ako ng Indian food. Biryani is the is the parang it will introduce Indian culture and everything about India through one dish. So that's biryani.
I think that's so true. I think that was my first introduction to Indian food way back then. Like, because it is a very accessible dish. It's not like you're not, like doing like the whole. I mean, it goes deep, about like the the dal. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
vegetarian. I mean, it's good, but then I mean, for I guess for a Filipino palate, it could be a bit provoking. But
Mhm.
biryani is very accessible, and like if you think about it, most food cultures have a version of chicken rice,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
I mean, the Philippines, I'm not sure what the version is because there's like the chicken barbecue with rice or the roast chicken, or I don't know if
Mm,
adobo, chicken adobo and rice
mm,
is
mm.
the equivalent to that, but but you're right though. It is a very, it's a good like gateway into uh Indian cuisine. And you mentioned living in Singapore, and you know, I was looking through your, I guess, timeline of careers and like studies. Like you've lived abroad quite a bit, different countries, studying, working.
Mhm.
What have been your experiences living in different cultures, immersing in them, working with different kinds of people? Like, what comes to mind when you think about your experiences abroad?
I think yung pinaka-key, I guess, takeaway that I get every time I travel is you start valuing your roots the moment you step out. No? But it's something that I encourage everyone. Sabi ko nga parang because it's when you have the money, or at least when you have the disposable income to do whatever you want. Most Filipinos are very they're afraid to get out of their comfort zone. And they're kaya nga ang I guess the irony of it is that our biggest export is human capital, is the workers, no, the foreign workers. And yet we are a group of people who uh, are so close to our family. So we're the Italians, sabi ko, we're the Mexicans pretending to be Chinese. So we're not we're not Asians. Ang Filipino, they're so attached to their families. Kaya yung mga in other countries, especially in Western countries, when you're 25, 26, and you still live in with your parents, that's normal. Parang what's so shameful about that? But yun so uh people can buy when you have the money, people can buy whatever you want. But when you travel, you're gaining memories, you're gaining experience. If I can para bang instead of buying a new designer bag or a new designer clothes or even a new car, uh, after a month, 2 months, sawa ka na eh. It's just there, and nawawala na yung joy. But yung, yung traveling, you discover so many things. Not just about the world, but you discover parang like I've worked with Mexicans, and there's so much in common with even the sense of humor of Filipinos and Mexicans. And then I realized that so much that we thought were Spanish influences are actually Mexican influences, from champorado to calachuchi to putting tuyo, salted fish with champorado. That's actually a Mexican concept, putting salted and kasi in Western countries, chocolate is a dessert. But in Mexico, like champorado, you could mix it with salty and savory food, and it works fine. No? So parang we laugh at the same bastos jokes na in other in Indonesia parang sobrang ano yun. Pero yung level nung I guess yung kabastusan, the green jokes is very Mexican. And then I realized, because I also love to study history, that before, because of they haven't constructed the Panama Canal then, so everyone who was traveling from Spain to the Philippines had to stop at Mexico. So that's why for a long time, for hundreds of years, the galleon trade was actually between Acapulco, Mexico, and then the Philippines and Manila. So ang daming natin nakukuhang influences na we forgot we're actually Mexicans. You know, my it's discovering your identity by discovering so many things from other cultures. When my daughter turned 18, my youngest daughter, kasi yung age niya, they were all turning 18, one after the other. So every week they would have a debut parties, 18 roses, and so on. Tapos I told my daughter, you always have a party every week with your classmates kasi di naman nag-iiba ng ano yan eh. Sabi ko, instead of having a big party, why don't we travel to Europe? We went to Paris. We just spent 2 weeks in Paris. I just traveled. Like I showed her, this is where the school. This is where the school I studied. This is where I used to live. And it was for her. Sobrang it opened her mind. It opened her to a different and she valued it so much. And to this day, 6 years later, ganun pa rin, we will always look at our pictures and we would, remember the owner's cat where in the Airbnb where we stayed, and the cat would always play with us and so on. So it's ang daming, you learn so much and then you discover ang dami kasi yung what you see, for example, in the news is totally different. It's you begin to see the humanity of people. In the Philippines, religion is such a divisive issue, for example. But me living in Indonesia, the largest Muslim country in the world, nakakatawa kasi yung discussions namin, it's nothing, has nothing to do with religion. We just have, we talk about, we have fun, we work together, we laugh at so many things that Filipinos would also laugh about, and you see that yung nawawala yung prejudice, I guess, and then you see that every person is special and unique, na hindi sila we nawawala yung prejudice, in fact, when you travel and when you discover and learn from other cultures.
I think that's so true. Especially living abroad for a long period of time, I noticed that like just like a few days ago, I was outside and I saw two guys and I was like, these guys look Pinoy. Like, parang you want to connect. Like, I went, are you Filipino? Then he's like, no, I'm Indonesian. I'm like, like, how are you? You start a conversation. But I guess like that particular example is related to what you said about when you live abroad, you appreciate, I guess, where you came from more because there's a yearning to connect, I guess, in a deep way. So you sort of look for yourself. You look for your own countrymen. Like when you're traveling, parang because you're here. We're in the same place. Like, what are you doing here? But on the flip side of that, like, when I went to Mexico, it's weird because like they thought I was Mexican.
Yeah,
exactly. And then when I talk to them, there's a strange affinity where you feel like you know them.
Yeah.
And it's a strange feeling being there, and particularly for me, Mexico City, because it felt like a familiar place. We're in like, why does it feel like home? But it's not. But it feels like it. And I think that's such a interesting thing, and it makes you want to see more of the world and find similarities, find differences. Because I mean, you're right. Like the comfort zone it really boxes you, diba? Like it makes, and I think it's a breeding ground of prejudice and discrimination, and your mind not being challenged by opinions. Like, because like when you're in the, like, let's be specific with like the video production industry, it's its own world in the Philippines, especially in Manila. It has its own language, its own culture. And
Mm.
if you're an outsider, let's say you're someone from another country and you come in, you're not going to understand that. It's going to take some time for you to assimilate.
Yeah.
I think that's why what you said about taking your daughter to Paris, for 2 weeks and showing her what it's like to live there, how your life was, that's so enriching. That's so different from like you give her like a debut. Like, I mean, maybe she'll remember it, but then it won't have that lasting effect of like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, you kind of brought me to your old life
Mm-mm.
and you showed me a different culture. And I guess like, I was looking through your Facebook and your LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and I saw like you've been studying quite a lot in the past couple of years,
Mm.
like
Mm.
further studies. And you said a while ago before we started the podcast that you're a big advocate of education, and you seem to
Mhm.
be, I guess, big on learning as well. Like,
Yeah.
what has that evolution been like throughout the years of learning and being an educator as well now?
You, I guess parang I've been teaching since 1993. Well, actually, after college, my first job while studying college was a taekwondo instructor. I know I don't look it, but I was teaching taekwondo. I'm a second dan black belt in taekwondo, and I'm part of the pool for the national team before. So hundred pounds ago. But so I was coaching taekwondo, and I so ando na yung ano eh, ando na yung I guess yung desire to share what I know, what I learned. But yung trying to I guess what find the gaps that is happening especially to the Philippines kasi uh in 2018 there's a performance for international it's called the PISA exams eh. I forgot what PISA but say it evaluates the education quality of education uh uh, of 79 countries, and the Philippines ranked 79th. So there were four subjects. Can you imagine? Ang kalaban lang natin doon sa 79 na naglalaban, I think was the Dominican Republic. 'Di ba? Parang ano. So there were there were I think three subjects. It's comprehension, so it's language comprehension, math and science. We play 79th in two, meaning the last. And then dun sa isa, I think that was sorry, in math and comprehension, the Philippines placed 79th. And then in science, we placed 78th. Parang ganun. That's 2018. 2022, I think, or 2023, uh, we placed, we were better because we became like 70, 76 or 75. It's still bad.
Yeah.
When I was, when I gave a talk to communication college students sa university, I asked them, what's your favorite movie? Sorry, what was your last Filipino movie that you've seen? And they said, oh, the last movie that they saw was Goyo and sorry, General Luna. General Luna. So General Luna was 2016 or 2017, parang ganun. And this was like 2019 or 2020, parang ganun. What's the last TV show that what's your favorite TV show? And they said, Friends and How I Met Your Mother, which is actually not showing anymore. So they did not watch it on television. They watch it on I think Netflix or on a streaming platform. But it goes to show that very few of them watch Filipino movies. Parang given a choice, they'd rather watch a Hollywood movie or an American movie. Or worse, they wouldn't even go to the cinemas. They just watch whatever on Netflix or on a streaming platform. Same thing with television. So for a filmmaker, it's a wake up call kasi parang you realize that the things that you're doing are no longer resonating or are no longer worse, are no longer relevant to your audience, to what you hope your audience would be. And that's scary kasi parang I'm making something that nobody is gonna watch, or at least a few. Uh, and what are the gaps though? We placed last in an international exams on evaluating our education, quality of education, and then uh, people are nobody reads books. You know, I'm I love fully booked, pero nung nakikita ko yung fully booked, for example, sa Rockwell, it started sa ground floor, and then it went to the top floor, and then it went smaller and smaller, and so ko, oh my God, parang sana wag mangyari. They used to have a cafe, and then wala na yung cafe because wala na, lumiliit. It's parang it shows that very few Filipinos are reading. But there are Filipinos who still read and are passionate about reading. Kaya nga kumukonti na yung yung nagbabasa. And it reflects na na people aren't reflecting anymore. That's what you get when you meditate. You
Yeah.
reflect. You stop for a moment and stop whatever you're doing and reflect. Look, think about things. No, and that's very important. There's too much. There's too much pressure on families to make sure that your children study something viable or sustainable, like nursing or engineering or HRM. I have nothing against these. Usually, I'm a medical technology. I have nothing against them, and that's good. Pero I get upset when you hear people saying that, oh, if you study history, if you study philosophy, walang value yan because you will end up doing a job that has nothing to do, that is not related to whatever you're doing, no? But kasi uh, for me, that's the even dangerous part as a country, as a as Filipinos. Kasi if you just keep on prioritizing producing workers, meaning people who do not think anymore, who do not reflect anymore, you will be producing a country of robots. So, in fact, for me, you could be a very good engineer, but what would make you become the best engineer is you have philosophy. Because, if you are an engineer na wala kang ethics, wala kang morals, no? Uh and you just say, no, I'm the best. I'm good at designing stuff. I can design a weapon of mass destruction. But it's okay because we need to win this war, or I need to make a lot of money. Then that's fine. But nawawala yung humanity, nawawala
Yeah.
yung human-centeredness. So the famous Simon Sinek is you start with a why, 'di ba? Yung when you do things, it's what you believe on, it's what you believe at, it's more important than what you know, 'di ba? So I might not be the best engineer, but if my goal as an engineer is to design a mass transit that is affordable, that is viable, that is would produce clean energy. It would be healthier for all Filipinos. And it's the jeepney is the worst mass transport design. Eh. Kasi para it's crap and it's
Mm.
really, you know. But if I can design something like that, but I'm human centered, that's philosophy. That's looking for the why. And that's why it's important na meron akong philosophical foundation or moral or ethical foundation. So hindi mo pwede sabihin na no, history is not important. Philosophy is not important. It's the most important because you can never go, you'll just be another rank 79 country robot in the future if that's all you do. Parang can you imagine we produce so many seafarers, no? Mga seamen. Uh pero bakit why not strive for if we could produce so many seafarers, bakit we are not known for sea captains like the Norwegians and the Danish, they're known to be the better, the Greeks, they're known to be the better sea captains, no? Or officers. Pero bakit yung workers nila will always be the robots, will always be the minions, will always be the Filipinos? Kasi hindi ka inaano on the why, 'di ba? You will just be, oh, gawin mo to and just do that. Do not even think, 'di ba? But the moment you start thinking and you become more human-centered, then you can move even forward because you can do more.
But it's a very complex issue, right? I mean, like, I talked to my partner a lot about this because we've been away for years na, and like that distance, that space makes you reflect a lot on how things are, how we tolerate traffic, how we tolerate incompetence, how the system is very inefficient and corrupt, and people complain about it, but no one really does anything about it specifically. And I mean, this is my opinion. I feel like a lot of Filipinos play small because they feel like, and I don't know where the origin of po came from, but I feel like it has been bastardized to the point na parang di ka naman kailangan magpo, nagpo-po ka pa rin just because there's a subordination, like may hierarchy na, and like a caste system in a way, like India, wherein like only a few, the ones na mahirap talaga from before, like had the courage and the vision to pave a better life. But I think like I really resonated with what you said about philosophy and the why, because I think that the why is what really gets you through. I guess that becomes the compass, diba? Like when you're going through a difficult time with your career or with your life, but you have a very firm set of values, of beliefs, that parang it becomes, there's meaning in it. Eh. It doesn't become like, like if you're in let's say you're working a dead end job, whatever that is, but you're just doing it because you have to do it, because you have to pay the bills. Then it becomes this grind. But if it's a job that's really difficult and say it's not paying well, but then that it's a stepping stone to get you to maybe another part of your career, and you have this vision of yourself thriving in that career, that's a whole different story, right? And I think that people don't, and that's an uncomfortable question din kasi to ask. Like, I mean, imagine you're with your barkada, you're with friends, and your usual conversation is just very light talk, gossip, or like memory reminiscing, and you start asking, "Oh, bro, why are you doing this, ba?" They're probably gonna deviate it to like, "Wag naman seryoso, bro. It's too much. Like, keep it light." Like, there are only a handful of people that are willing to like lean into that question. I either they have an answer, na yes, I know what my why is, or like I don't know, or I want to find out, but I don't know how, right? And let me ask you, like, how did you cultivate your why? Like, you said that I actually want to ask you about your taekwondo journey nga, because I feel like martial arts is a very good jump off point to cultivate the mind, the why, that philosophy. So like, What cultivated your why?
Well, for my I'll tell you, hindi naman siya secret eh, pero nung 20, so as I've been doing films, and I've been teaching since 1993. So I've been in the production industry since 1988. So uh, in 2010, I got an opportunity to live in the United States. I got a green card. No? I got a permanent residency. Uh, I got an immigrant visa. So I I was moving back and forth. I work in an agency. But because ang sabi nila sa akin, if you win awards, you reach this box office potential, you get all of these articles that featured you in the newspapers, and you could use that. And when you and I was able to get it. I was able to get the visa, so I got an opportunity to live in the United States and work in the United States. Uh, so nung so I worked mostly. I worked at a production company. And then I worked at a digital agency when digital agencies were something new. And then pero pag meron ng major projects sa Philippines, I would go to the Philippines and start doing films and so on. Nung 2019, I went to the United States kasi kailangan ko nang tapusin yung citizenship ko. If I to fulfill my citizenship. If I want to be an American citizen, so kailangan i-complete ko na kasi mag-expire na yung green card ko. So I went there in 2019. And then sabi ko, ito na yan. I'm gonna stay here for good. Okay? So, the thing is, all of my production-related work or production-related roles that I applied for sa US, I was not getting the jobs anymore. So I guess maybe it's age, whatever reason. I think I'm experienced, pero I always lose out to somebody younger, somebody with less experience for whatever reason. Uh, so sabi ko, but I need to survive. I need to at least financially. So sabi ko, kahit anong trabaho papasukin ko just to survive, I mean, make a living. So I worked as a plumber. Okay. So I mean, ang daming nagtataka, sabi niya, plumbing? What do you know about plumbing? Sabi ko, plumbing, ang maganda sa plumbing kasi, it's the lowest bar eh. And the starting fee for a plumber, social na konti, plumbing technician, is you get paid $35 per hour. Okay, the better plumbers, or they have their own kumbaga practice, they charge $70 per hour. That's huge. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered walang ano yon, walang ikaw na yung aayaw sa trabaho. Lalo na pag umuulan sa San Francisco. You get all of these calls, and you need to go there, I need to go there. Wait, I have to do this again. Tapos I cannot. I'll go. I'll just go. I'll fix it tomorrow. So we'll go and then you would have. I'm having a party tonight. My toilet is blocked. Charge me whatever you want. I just fix this toilet. Ganon. So I was earning a lot. And then inikot ko yung business. So for me, I didn't see it as director ka, award-winning director ka, tapos nagtatrabaho ka sa plumber, parang baba na But actually, I looked at it as my MBA. Para akong, I studied a service industry, a service company. And to this day I can run a I can easily run a service company, service organization, dispatching and billing and everything. Alam ko yan. Especially sa plumbing industry.
That's amazing.
Uh and a lot.
That's a great experience. That's a great
Oo,
experience.
ang ano ko lang, para sabi ko parang at what point na, kasi meron kami isang client, it's a post office na every week ando dun ako. I would remove kasi blocked yung toilet nila. I would remove the whole toilet, run we call it a snake, a mechanical snake. Run a snake, tapos to declog it and then fix it, put the toilet back again. 1 week later, they'd call and, oh, you need to ganyan, ganyan, ganyan. So, after mga 4 times na kaming bumabalik doon in 1 month, nag-run na kami ng camera, like a sewer camera. And then you realize na yung bloke nila, yung sewer pipe, yung sewer line is broken kasi made of clay yun eh. So, I mean, dami mo natututunan eh. So, nag-collapse na siya. So, it's actually spilling underground. Yung sa lupa na siya. So, they need to replace it. If they want it to work, they need to replace it. But the post office realized that it will be more costly to stop the operations of the whole building, the whole post office. Kasi gigibain yung ano eh. They have to replace the whole floor, knock down the whole floor and replace the whole sewer pipe. No? That's about siguro mga 5 meters. So parang sabi ko, ano pa uli? Alam naman natin ang problema. Ang problema is you need to replace the pipe. But you can't replace the pipe because it will shut down the whole operations of the whole post office. It's either they moved elsewhere for about 2 months while we're fixing it, or they just stop operations, which is impossible. So, parang sabi ko, ayoko na. I don't want to see another toilet. Or at least remove another toilet again. And then I worked as a postman. So I applied sa post office. People say, oh, it's very difficult to get into the USPS, that's his postal system. I took the exam, I passed it. Tapos on the day that I'm supposed to train the operation of kasi right-hand drive yon and I didn't. And then I went back to the Philippines. And then that's when COVID hit. It's like exactly like a week after I landed to Manila, COVID hit. But ano pa ako, but I can still go back to, of course, I can still go back to the United States. But then, that lockdown, sabi ko, what am I missing? Every time I tell people I got an offer to work as a postman, I'm not working. I don't want to work as a postman. Sabi ko, but the pay is good. And every time they hear the word postman or USPS, they say, oh, federal yun, federal system
Yeah.
yun. Meaning, you could work anywhere in the United States as a federal employee. But sabi ko, what am I missing? And then, I don't know if it's there's this podcast I listen to. It's called How I Built This. And there's this woman they interviewed. Her name is Marsha Kilgore. I forgot what her business was. But she said something that sabi ko, it's my answer to that question. Like, what am I doing in the United States? And she said, do not wake up every day just to do something ordinary. So parang, and then I realized one important word. Because parang it's a choice between, should I give up my green card or not? And then people will always ask me, why did you give up your green card? Why did you give up your green card? And then I found my Miss Universe answer. Because people die. People would give the right
Yeah.
arm just to get a green card and work in the United States. Sabi ko, what would be my Miss Universe answer? Parang, why did you give up your green card? And I realized that I still believe that the United States is a land of opportunities. The United States has given me opportunities where I could succeed, but the Philippines has given me purpose. It's purpose. That one word. Because in the United States, I do not have a purpose. I mean, with due respect to the nurses and the technicians, the medical technologies and the X-ray operators, that's their purpose, but that's not my purpose. Plumbing is not my purpose. Being a postman is not my purpose. My purpose, I realize, it might sound simple. My purpose in life is to tell stories. And and teaching, I realize that if I just lecture, people think, oh, you're a teacher. You just do lecture. But no, a great teacher tells stories. The greatest teachers in the world are storytellers. Moses is a storyteller. He wrote the first 5 books of the law. The Buddha is a storyteller. Jesus Christ is a storyteller. Aristotle is a storyteller. Muhammad is a storyteller. And what do people call these people? They all call them teachers. So if you want to change the world, you tell a story. If you want to be a great teacher, you tell a story. It's just that one word, purpose. What's my purpose? So sabi ko, it's not where I am. It's not whether I'm in the US, in Thailand. And that's why I'm doing, that's why I'm so excited about Myanmar. The film school that we're building there. Uh, ang daming, uy, shit, pwede mag-open ng school dito and I can do this and I can do that. And every time we talk about things that's happening to all of us, it's yung parang, it's an opportunity for me to tell stories. And you realize that what changes you are not the actual event itself. What changes you is that the kwento of a story. You have faith. You talk about wellness, you talk about meditation. Nikki, you have a very wonderful story, di ba, about your past na para everything was okay financially. But there's a
Wasn't
story.
enough.
Di ba?
Story.
Meron na
Yeah.
pwedeng na parang it's actually the one that changed you, that transformed you. Because if that didn't happen, you'd still be probably doing something else. So parang ganun eh. I'll tell a brief kwento kasi
Please.
there's this footage that was given to me by a TV network. Sabi nila, sa video clip, sabi nila, direct, can you look at this? This is it's a footage of dwarves, mga duwende. So when I looked at it, the image is inverted. Okay? So yung alam mo yan, the image is inverted. And it's a group of people like dancing, very, very small. Nasa sa video nung parang merong window, a ceiling window, pero it's made of canvas. So yung sa canvas, may nakikita kang small people na silhouettes nila. Some are working, may nagsasayaw. Pag may narinig ka music, nagsasayaw yung but they're little people. Except that they're inverted. So I teach film. I knew right away that is a phenomenon in physics and photography. It's called the camera obscura. It's the same principle how a 35mm camera works, and it's the same principle how the video camera of an iPhone works. It's the same principle how our own eye works. All the image that we see is actually inverted. It passes through a lens, in the cornea, passes through a lens, the pupil, and then it's baliktad. But our brain converts it automatically to be upright, so we see it as upright. So I explained to the researcher from the network that no, these are not dwarves, these are camera obscura. It's just phenomenon. So I sent them YouTube videos explaining what camera obscura is. No, no, no. You have to come with us to Lucena. So, sabi, ha, why do I have to go there? No, you have to look at the dwarves. You have to see the dwarves because ano daw, a lot of great things happened daw. And then the owner of the house, merong mute son, meron siyang speech impaired, but the speech impaired son can talk down to the dwarves. Parang ganon. Tapos, di ba, dwarves is supposed to be good luck. So, na-promote daw sa trabaho yung owner ng house. Nagkaroon daw sila ng internet. Dati daw walang internet. Actually, anyway, so we went to Lucena for 4-hour drive from Manila. We went to Lucena. Went to the house. I saw it. Tapos, I moved around. And then, I said, dun sa neighbor nila, anong, as I saw, mayroon mga vest na construction workers vest na nakahanger. Sige, anong ginagawa dito sa bahay nyo? Yung bubong namin ginagawa. The dwarves, they only appear every 5 o'clock sunset. Kasi yung sun nagseset doon sa likod ng bahay, so doon mo lang nakikita yung silhouette. So I asked a little boy, can you climb up dun sa roof? May hagdan naman. So climbs up to the roof. And then, when you hear my voice, you just do what I tell you. So nakikita mo, so I went dun sa kitchen where the dwarves appear dun sa ceiling, nakikita mo. And then, nakita nila yung video, naglalakad yung bata pero pabaliktad. Sabi ko, oh, can you wave your arms? Can you wave your arms? So when you wave niya yung arms niya. Okay, can you sit down? Okay, sit down. So yung dwarf nagsisit down. Can you stand up? Yung dwarf nagsistand up. Sabi ko, can you dance? And then the little boy said, sir, I don't know how to dance. So anyway, okay, so second, there's your dwarf. So it's the ano. So they saw it. Sabi niya, and so they had to interview me after showing them the demonstration. They had to interview me. And their interview kept on focusing on the dwarves. Why do you think that the people think that they're dwarfs? Why do you think that they had good luck, even though you said that there were no dwarfs? What made you say that they are not dwarfs? So, lying, it's about the dwarfs. So I was getting frustrated. I was getting angry. And then I realized there's this book. For me, it's a game changer. It's called Sapiens by
Mhm.
Yuval Noah. It's a very, very bestseller. Uh, sabi ni Yuval Noah Harari that people will listen to you, will accept, will learn easily if you tell them stories. The dwarf is a story. The camera obscura as a phenomenon in physics is not a story. So if you're naalala ko kasi yung friend ko, her mom has cancer. But they thought she just had a cough. So they went to the albularyo, and the albularyo told a wonderful story about, your ex-husband who passed away, still loves you, so he's always hugging you. So akala nila kaya daw nagka-cough kasi yung weight ng husband nandoon sa likod ng wife. So you had to wear this red blanket so that you will become invisible to the ghost of the husband. So the husband will move forward and go to heaven. It's a wonderful story. But actually, it made the cancer worse. So they didn't go to they didn't go to the doctor right away. So for 4 months, they just hoping that she would heal, diba? But because it was easier for them to believe that it's a story. When you say, sabi niya, is there a tree behind your house? Yeah. Do you pee on that tree from time to time? Yeah. Oh, see, the kapre got so upset that you're peeing on his house, so he cursed you, and that's why you have this whatever tumor on your neck, and so on. So you believe that, it's a wonderful, okay. But if I tell you, oh, you know what, your blood your blood cells are getting low, and and your hemoglobin levels are so and so, your triglycerides, whatever. It just doesn't make sense. They're
Yeah.
facts, but they're not a story. But if you tell them there's a dwarf, there's a witch, there's a kapre that cursed you. So parang sabi ko, stories are powerful, and that's my purpose. I have to find ways where we could educate our students, our learners, or even just tell a story so that they will learn whatever I want to talk about, whatever I want to teach. Yun lang. Give them an experience, give them a learning experience through stories.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
powerful. That's really, I love the examples that you shared about how a lot of us are into, we love these fantastical, almost mystical stories, and if
Mm.
you think about it, like with social media now, like stories are being weaponized, right? I mean,
Yeah.
narratives are being created. They are dictating, like, I mean, they're creating wars. They're creating all these, I mean, not just bad news, but a lot of good news, Ren, right? Like it gets, and I guess that's the, like, I want to connect what you said about the statistics with, like Filipinos in terms of education, they rank really low.
Mhm.
And now that you're talking about all these opportunities for you to be able to like build schools and educate other people. And I also noticed that you're big on the new learning models on how to tell stories, not just the like it's funny because every time I get a bit homesick, I'll turn on
Mhm.
Netflix and I'll watch a Filipino film and I'll say, okay, let's just go through it. And I'll flick through them. I'll flick through them and maybe I'll stick to one even if I feel it's a bit, like, oh, I don't really want to watch this, but I want to watch it for nostalgia.
Mhm.
I want to hear how people speak and, feel the culture
Yeah.
again. Pero parang, I just remembered what you said na how people, there's this dumbing down, like, and I feel like, I don't know if it's related to our colonization, how we were really, we were our the storytelling part because people say that Philippine I remember years ago, I was in a summer solstice Kundalini yoga festival.
Mhm.
So it didn't get any more, I guess, like new age than that. And then I was having this conversation with these Americans and they were saying, "Oh, you're from the Philippines. Like that's a portal. That's a portal for healers. That's a portal
Mhm.
for these. You guys are so gifted. You guys are healers. You guys were born to heal." And I'm like, at the time, I was like, "Yeah, we are." But I guess like if you think about it, what you just said, it's the
Mhm.
stories. I mean, we're great storytellers. If you think about history books, you think about all these tribes and their rituals, parang they're so nice to listen to it because they're not ordinary. They're very unique. And I
Mhm.
guess like with what you're doing now with like the film schools, and then I know you're also doing something with the Mylo Speech Buddy. You're also like with
Mhm.
Kind Mind, like even with the Eddie Garcia law. I know you're a part of it. Like these are all very, I guess, ambitious projects. And some are like you're still in the process. Others like I know the Eddie Garcia law is already in effect. But
Mhm.
like what I mean, this is your why. You're living it out already. But like
Mhm.
how do you for people that don't, let's say they know their why, but they don't know how to actually act on it. Because it's such a big thing. Diba? It's like a broad question. I know my
Mhm.
why is to help people to educate, but then how do you start picking what to do? Like, are you more of a strategic thinker na, okay, I'm gonna plan this out? Or do
Mhm.
you let things come to you when it
Mhm.
comes to things like this?
Actually, uh, ano it it will find you, but you also have to look for it eh. Kasi like for example, yung Mylo Speech Buddy, it started out kasi we were the founder and I. So we were actually project managers for a tutorial app. Okay, so there was a company that developed a tutorial, which is a marketplace for tutors. Okay, so education. Uy, that's my why. Okay, so tutorial. So apparently ang proposition is that the Philippines is low on ranked last in at the PISA exams. So the solution, and one of the and it's a proven solution, will be to have tutors. So parang we were supposed to develop this app that would become a marketplace for tutors. So if you want to be a tutor, you put your name there. Ang ano nga namin, you make a demo reel of you making a tutorial, or you explaining, for example, a topic, quadratic equations, and how do you do that. So we were doing that. Pero nung inaano namin, maraming problema yung apps. But the bigger problem, kasi we found the ano no, we found the what. No, what is the app? No, an app that would be a marketplace for tutors. That was the app. That was the why. Sorry, no, that's the what. The product. Pero we always go back to what the question: what problem are we solving? Okay, so the quick and easy answer is the Philippines has scored the lowest at the PISA exams, and therefore the way to solve education poverty is through tutorials, if we have tutors. Okay, but if you ask, the problem with the Filipinos is that they do not see ranking last at the PISA as a problem. We, yung project managers, we are making it a problem. Maybe the Department of Education, the media is making it a problem. Oh, our problem is ano. But ask eight, ang 15-year-old ang typical na nag-exam sa PISA. You ask a 15-year-old, do you think that you are not learning properly? They will say, no, I'm okay. But you know that the Philippines scored last at the PISA exam. It's okay. Me, I passed. I passed science, math, and so for the Filipinos, they do not see it as a problem. So which is a problem? but para bang but the realization for me and my partner, si Vince, was ano yung iniisip natin na problema ng mga Pilipino. They do not see it as a problem. I passed. I'm okay. I don't need a tutor. Kailan tayo naghahanap ng tutor? Pag may bagsak. Which is bad actually. Kasi parang, kung pasado ka pa, o ka naman, 74 ka, pero pwede bang, baka naman pwede pagbigyan mo na kagay mo. Lalo-lalo na ngayon, with the, you can talk to teachers that, this is the only one in the family who's about to, the first in the family to finish high school. Ipasa nyo na. Sige na nga, ipasa nyo na. There was the pandemic, so you cannot be too, strict on the grades. O sige, okay, pasa nyo na. As long as they're passing. And the last thing that they will consider is get a tutor. Who gets the tutors? The people who get the tutors are the rock stars eh. Ito na yung magaling sa math. No, but I want to be the national math champion in the next math competition, math Olympics. I want to be I want to get into the Philippine Science High School, or I want to get into UP College of Science, or I want to pass the asset. Okay? So that's the time I get a tutor so that I can achievers na to eh. But the typical Filipino, in fact, these are the people kasi the people who are in the higher ranking levels, yung mga rock stars, sila yung naghahanap ng tutors. But the typical, most Filipinos, hanggat pumapasa ka, no need for that eh. So, we are making something that is not a problem, which is bad because parang it is, we found the solution, tutors. We are, ang tawag ko dun ano eh, it is a solution looking for a problem.
Mm.
So, inanap namin, ano yung, ano yung, uh, ano yung problem na if you talk to that person, you don't know the solution yet. Just find the problem. So in my case, the education. Ano yung education na yung that is a problem now. Na pag kinausap ko yung parents, I can help you do this, or your child can do this, or can start from this to this, and I will give you the solution. Sabi niya, how much will you pay for it? So, and they said, whatever it takes. Charge me whatever it takes, basta do something. And we found out, kasi yung partner ko, yung anak niya is in the autism spectrum. And we talked to many parents with children on the neurodivergent children, and realize that ang problem lalo na is that these children are non-verbal. They can speak, but they're very very lazy to speak. Yeah, they just make sounds, okay? But it doesn't mean they're not smart. Actually, they are. Except that their brain is wired differently, and that's why they're called neurodivergent. So we realize that what's the most simple problem? The most simple problem is they don't want to speak. So they're non-verbal. So what if we can go from 0 to 1? Just go from non-verbal to verbal. Yun lang yung goal. That's the problem. Is that a problem? Yeah, of course. The moment my son can just say, I need to go to the bathroom. I need to poop. I need to pee. Okay na yun eh. They're very happy. Can you imagine? Their only problem is that their child will never say, I want to go to the bathroom. I need to poop. Yun lang. But if they're able to do that, ano na sila? They're very happy. My friend, who's the father of a neurodivergent child, sabi ko, ano yung moment na na parang your best memory of your son na may nasa spectrum? Sabi niya, I always say, when I say goodbye to my son, I always say, I love you, Andrew. So, as sasabihin nung son, I love you, Andrew. No, no, no. You say, I love you, Dada. I love you, Dada. Okay. I love you, Andrew. I love you, Andrew. So, ganun pa rin. Every day, every day. One day, biglang sabi ng bata, sabi nung friend ko, I love you, Andrew. And the son said, I love you, Daddy. He cried. He cried na parang, yun lang yung goal namin. To be able to speak from non-verbal to verbal. To be able to make a coherent sentence. And then we found out yung customers namin will pay for whatever. So sabi ko, if we could do that, and then we found a method called discrete video modeling. Where they just watch something and they repeat it. You encourage them to repeat something. First, you begin with animal sounds. If it's a frog going ribbit ribbit, if it's a quack quack quack, meow meow meow, just encourage them to make sounds. So if they hear a car, vroom vroom vroom, so ganun lang eh. But they're talking. So the moment then you say car, broom. So gumagano lang and then you develop. So yun yung foundation ng app. And we realize ang biggest challenge sa Philippines is that walang kakaunti ang there are less than, at least nung last year, there are less than 1,000 There are less than 1,000 speech pathologists or speech therapists in the Philippines. There are less than 100 uh, pediatricians who specializes on neurodivergent children. So, paano if you are a parent who lives in Sultan Kudarat? Paano if you live in the Cordilleras? Walang speech pathologist dun eh. And you have to get a speech pathologist at least twice a week. I mean, that's the best. Yun yung pinaka-ideal, twice a week. Eh kung one speech pathologist lang will take so much, di ba? Parang wala eh. But at least you develop something that will be a solution or at least an alternative while we're waiting for the speech pathologist or in between sessions with speech pathologist if you find one, something that you could practice it. So yun lang yung ano eh. Yun lang yung instead of looking for that solution, identify ano ba yung problema. So we thought that the problem for the tutorial app was about ang ano namin problem is uh, ang ang problem is yung education poverty. So we thought that the solution is tutorials. Okay? We thought. Okay? So anong nangyari? Wala kaming yeah, there's data. There's data pero we did not see it from a human perspective. At least we didn't even look at it from a Filipino perspective. Eh. Pero yung ano yung sabi ko, ano yung produkto natin na pwedeng hindi yung produkto eh. Ang hanapin mo is not the product, ang hanap or the solution. Ang hanapin mo yung tao na may problem. So my passion right now is education. Ano yung problema ng mga tao? And you realize ang daming ano eh. So people always look at education from a knowledge gap. Kulang. They failed because kulang sila sa kaalaman. But then you realize it's also the environmental gap. There's also the health gap. There's also yung ano yung they are growing in an environment na hindi sila ini-encourage actually to learn.
Mm.
Uh, I mean, of course, poverty, of course, economic gap. Pero yung hindi conducive for learning, you have a mom na nagtatrabaho let's say sa palengke and your dad na absentee father or nag-aadik-adik or whatever, wala ka sa environment na you are nurtured to learn eh.
Yeah.
So, you have to look at ano yung problem. And I had an interview. I also teach in a school called Enduran Colleges, grade school. I was blessed to be interviewed by the president. He passed away last year lang, but he had a very interesting question. Sabi niya, do you believe in the standard curriculum? Kasi yung CHED, the Commission on Higher Education, and the Department of Education, meron silang curriculum for every program. So you're studying film, you're studying nursing, meron niya set curriculum that they pass it and they go to different scrutiny. So do you believe the standardized curriculum? Sabi ko, I'm sorry, but I do not believe that there is such a thing that exists. Sabi niya, why do you say that? Because sabi ko, every learner is different. And every learner would have a reason bakit hindi sila nag-perform properly. And we always attribute it to knowledge. Ako lang, hindi niya alam. Kaya siya hindi pumasa. But in fact, actually, hindi lang siya kumain that day. Or in
Mm.
fact, mas masaya mag-party eh. Or in fact, lagi nag-aaway yung parents niya. So, mas worried siya na, how do I stay sane? Or less stress in a family na prone to violence and everything. Diba? So, learning is the least of her concerns. Huh? So, parang, you have to find that gap. So every person, every learner is different. The standard curriculum of every program is a standard. It's a guide. It is never Kaya hindi ako naniniwala is even standardized testing. Parang, and then now recently through all the research, they realize why are Americans, even the Americans kasi the ano na American schools are failing. Yung high schools and even colleges sa United States because they relied everything on standardized tests. When in fact the problem is standardized testing doesn't work. Tapos I'm reading a Malcolm Gladwell book right now on education. And sabi niya parang we're valuing, alam mo yung ang standard test kasi is also based on time. So you answer a set of tests, 100 questions in 40 minutes, you have to answer it. So para bang you're valuing not ang term niya, not the tortoise. You're valuing the hare. Kung sino yung pinakamabilis sumagot in a ano with a set number of questions, then he gets the point. He gets inside the ano no. So pag mabagal kapag ina-analyze mo ng ano, it's not because that you're stupid or you don't know the answer. It's just that you take more time trying to understand the questions. Actually, you're being punished kasi you cannot answer in 40 minutes parang gano'n. So yung ang daming gaps, and that's why it's important na ano na you identify na ano ba yung gap, ano yung problem nung bawat learner. Yeah. So it's different.
It's so interesting to hear. Like while you were explaining the gaps, like if it's the parents or there may be poverty, like I couldn't help but think about how, I guess, people who are entering the workforce or starting their careers, how similar that experience is, Ren. How, I mean, I guess like with, we've all went through it. I mean, you shared your experience about applying in the US, and I had my first experience of applying, I guess, like as an adult, applying for like jobs, like online, being abroad. And I realized that there's so many parallelisms, like may mga tests, standardized tests, the interview process, they ask you certain questions. But then, yeah, even if you have the experience of, let's say, a decade, 2 decades worth of being a creative or a filmmaker, that's discounted because your age does not equate with what we're looking for, or like with in terms of you, hindi ka pasok sa yung resume mo doesn't fit the standard, right, of what we're looking for. And I guess like that's so, it's disturbing to hear how we had to go through that. Maybe when we were younger, we were unaware that we were being, in a way, institutionalized by these kinds of dogmas, right? But now that we're out of it, and you're big on this, like you're trying to change that system, right? And you can only do so much, Ren. It's not big change. It's very small, incremental change. And I guess like that's what fuels you, right? Like your why is to help. Even if the progress is slow, even if the difference isn't as big as you'd want it to be, at least there's something happening. At least it's moving you towards it. Which, I also remembered when I first met you, I was learning about the industry, video production. This was more than a decade ago. And if I remember my college experience, there was nothing close to it. Nothing. It was like, yeah, there's lectures, theory, you make your own short film, but no one told me about the client, production house, agency relationship. There was none of that, right? And then, in contrast to that, I remember learning from some of my friends that came from European countries that they would have this sort of like apprenticeship year wherein they would get the opportunity to, if they're interested, let's say, in engineering, they would get to apprentice for an engineer, like go to them to work, maybe work on some projects with them to figure
Yeah.
out if that's something that they want to do. And I guess like with all the knowledge that you have now and all the things that you're trying to do, it seems to be a very, I mean, in my eyes, a very stark contrast from you working as a advertising director, maybe even a film director, wherein it's you're still servicing a client in a way. You're servicing I guess, the network. In comparison to now, you're serving people. You're trying to serve, in particularly the youth to make
Mhm.
them better. Like, what are your insights now, having gone through, I guess, an industry that's very, you know, the roots are in terms of like commercialism and being able to like, I guess, bring out a product compared to
Mhm.
now wherein you're trying to help people's lives. You're trying to uplift their lives. Like how was
Mhm.
because you said that your epiphany happened after COVID, after the pandemic. So this is like how does that, I guess, your mind process all of that, the differences and
Mhm.
the reintegration, the awakening then.
Mm. Alam mo ano, very interesting yung when you realize that there are there are things that you cannot change. There are things or even belief systems that parang ay parang ayoko niyan, parang I don't want to do this, I want to do that. Like I guess siguro mga 15 years ago, ang ano sa akin parang ang ano is awards. Parang parang yun ang magva-validate na I'm a good filmmaker if I win so and so awards or if I win if I get an award from this specific festival or from this specific or if I get a project from this specific this specific client sorry, if I get a project from this specific client, parang yun na yung yun na yung validation mo eh. But then you realize it's not them or it's not these awards, uh it's not this group of people who will validate kung ano yung ano mo ano yung pananaw mo or yung belief mo sa sarili mo. It's also realizing na parang there are really clients who will not work with you. No matter how hard you sell yourself to them, na parang wala lang. And it's not because they hate you. I have a friend na na parang sama-sama ng loob niya kasi parang uh, she did a project with this client or with this agency and the project won an award. And then the next time they're producing a campaign, they did not even consider her. They did not even consider the team that she worked with. Parang ganon. So sabi niya, what's wrong? What's wrong? What did I do wrong? It's like, it's not that you did something wrong. Why do you always see that you did something wrong for them not to choose you? It's just because they have a different preference, and it's something as mababaw as kamag-anak nung client yung yung director na pinili or yung cinematographer na pinili. Uh, and it's nothing personal. The moment you start thinking na it's personal, wala naman akong ginagawa. Bakit ganun? Bakit hindi naman alam, we gave good service, fine. 'Di ba? Uh, much of what we do in our lives, whether it's advertising, it's filmmaking, it's about relationships. So parang inaano na parang whatever happens, never burn your bridges. Never burn your bridges. Kasi yung walang point na kaya yung parang I mean except for a few posts ang learning ko, wag ka na mag-post lalo na sa social media na something negative or something critical about something, even though you're right, you know. For all you know, you're right. It's ano eh, parang you learn to take the high ground. You believe in something, but wag mong, it's not worth dying for. It's not worth losing a network, losing a friend, or ano. I guess that's the philosophy of stoicism also. So you understand what are the things na wala ka na magagawa, 'di ba? So you just focus on the things that you could do something. And it will not always be the end that you want, but it will at least be the best ending that you can do something about, 'di ba? That we strive for.
But that's so true. I remember, I think it was like a Tibetan Buddhist uh, book wherein it was talking about that, wherein like when you're someone's provoking you, the best thing to do is not to react, because once you react, then the dance starts, and it's not going to be even up to you. Even if you try to end the dance, because you already started the dance, it's going to keep going because you've engaged it na, right? And I mean, these things, I feel like you have to, like, these aren't taught to us, at a young age. It's like, our egos are sort of the ones that are being cultivated through the years to have that recognition, to have that power, to have that success. But what people don't understand, a lot of people, not a lot, I guess like some people do experience this, like what you shared, like going to the States, being a plumber. For a lot of people, they're like, man, ginawa mo yun? They're gonna look down on you pa eh. But others though, that will see it as like, wow, that's evolution eh. That's an opportunity that you actually grew like exponentially. Then you became that person who can, I guess, defy what the conventions are, right? And then because of that, you start to feel stronger, and you can actually be yourself more than, that bandwagon effect, diba, of how people, pag nakahawa yung, when you keep acting, behaving based on what people expect you to do, based on what society tells you to do, you keep doing it often enough, then you're just, wala na, reflex na eh. But yun, not responding, doing difficult things, doing things that are actually, I guess, not of the norm, it makes you feel more like you. If that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate, what you shared, the stories you've shared about these experiences, because I feel like you have to go through it for you to understand why it was important, right? And that it wasn't like a demotion. It wasn't something that's like punishing you. It's actually, if you look at it from a really wide perspective, parang it's that evolution eh, progress ka lang, diba?
Yeah.
Becoming more aware, of becoming more compassionate, of not having to engage all the time. And I guess like for my last question, like with all these experiences and rich uh, learnings and insights, what do you think for you now, like, is a well-lived life? Like moving forward, how do you want to continue living a life that's for you well lived? And what does that involve for you? What does that entail for you?
You, I guess yung ano eh, yung growing up, parang ang ano mo is yung, oh, you have to be successful. A well-lived life is a successful life. Uh, or and then you get to ask, what is a successful life? So, well, a successful life is, when you have, I don't know, all of the 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 money that you want to acquire, or the material goods, or you build the house, you buy a house, uh you win awards. Pero naisip ko parang I I mean, of course I don't want it to happen, but para bang if I'm gonna die today, ano yung para bang will I say sayang, uh,
Mm.
sayang sana ginawa ko to, or sayang wala eh. I mean, wala kasi I never, kumbaga uh, I never measured success doon sa markers na sinet ng ibang tao. I guess I'm lucky. I mean, hindi ko naman pwedeng sabihin na I mean, of course, I can say it. I won awards. Uh, I got, I was honored in a lot of ways. I got to meet very important people in my life na I'm very very proud of, na parang but for me, I'm lucky. I guess it might sound mababaw, but para bang with ever what's happening to the people that I've it's very simple. I I have a well lived life because I have children who are on their own. Of course, they're young, but na ano ko na na I became a father at 22, very young. So, but when I parang now that my eldest son is also a father, so I'm a grandfather now. So parang uh, ginagawa na niya yung 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 role that I hope na ginagawa niya. And then parang parang I know that they're okay, that they will be okay. If I die today, uh, I know that everything they'll be okay. So wala akong shit, sana ginawa ko to, or set na ano ka lang yan. Uh, Hindi ko pa nababayaran yung smart bill ko, I guess. Pero but I would say it's a regret. No? Pero parang parang it's those things eh. It's not even the recognition. And hindi sa pagyayabang or I mean, of course I can no, but between my awards and ang ko kasi, ang one thing that I'm very proud of is that uh I am a good teacher because I'm able to validate, kasi yung mga naging students ko are very successful now. Of course, it's not all because of me, but I know I've lived a well-lived life because meron akong contribution dun sa sa success nila, and they acknowledge it. Kaya to na ko kaya ako parang the pride is here. And then whenever whatever it is that I taught them or I shared with them, meron akong hindi ako nagturo sa inyo ng something theoretical. Whatever it is that I taught you, or in fact I didn't even teach you anything, I just told you stories, were based on my experience. So hindi ako career teacher na may nabasang something theoretical and then shinare ko and then in-apply niya naging successful siya, because whatever it is that I experienced, I shared it with you, and then ginawa nila and they became successful. So parang na-replicate, at least nag-grow, na-pay forward ko yung nangyari. And yung ko yung bang parang yung to this day, like a few days ago, I still get calls from my my students, and direct, pag wala kang ginagawa, magkape naman tayo. It makes you feel good that they invite me. And they still consult me. Sabi niya, look, can you look at my script? Can you look at my projects? I feel good because they trust me na they know na ano na I might not be the best director, but I can say I'm a good teacher kasi ano well, of course yung evaluation, tataas palagi ng evaluations ko eh. So I might have a problem with the admin, and ang education ng universities and college, maraming politika yan. But ang ano ko palagi, ang basis ko palagi na I've done a good job is because ano, my students acknowledge it. Merong mayabang na ano, but sige, say na yan, na ano na walang walang acknowledgement na ano na naging teacher nila ako. Pero nakikita mo yung ano na they you know they respect me pa rin. So I guess I being a father to them as well, no? So hindi lang ako naging father sa anak ko, but naging father din ako sa kanila. Kasi meron akong student na she's gay. So meron siyang uh, meron siyang relationship now. Meron siyang gay relation now. And then she would ask me advice. I go, what do I know about that? Pero no. But sabi niya, no, your insight is very important because again, I tell her, and this trying to find a way to be a better teacher is also, kasi when you're teaching, it disciplines your mind to think in a very systematic, organized manner. You do not just, para kang nakikwento, you do not just tell a story biglaan. So meron kang setup, meron ka everything that yung elements of storytelling, it's the same thing. So parang you prepare for it. So parang sumusulat ng screenplay. Natutuwa ako, like for example, my granddaughters, yung ugali din nung anak ko when they were young. So parang shit, parang I must have done something good kasi parang yung creativity nila nakikita mo, parang ganun. I guess one of the biggest rewards, I wouldn't even say reward, pero parang I asked my son one time. He went to the Ateneo. Di ba yung Ateneo ka rin, di ba? Yung
Yeah.
college. So
Yeah.
he went to Ateneo. Doon sa asset exams. Sabi ko, ano yung mga exams? Sabi niya, typical test questions in any university. But what made asset different is that yung last part, there's an essay that you have to answer. And then, so what are the essay questions? Sabi niya, who's the most influential people in your life? So ko, what did you say? Sabi niya, I told her it was you. So, so parang, it's just that parang, and he said it very casually. Told her it was you. So parang, I must have done something good.
For sure.
So,
For sure.
so whether, I mean, maloko rin naman ako nung bata ako and everything. Pero yung para bang, and that's why I'm okay. I mean, I'm not very rich, but parang, ang what keeps me going is that, hey, we could do this, and we could do a film, and we could do this school, and we could do this. Ang daming na nakikita ko yung some of the people na yung kakontemporary ko, some are doing very well. Pero yung iba, parang they've just given up. They've just given up. So parang, or wala na yung energy na Ako, I still think of death every time. Lalo na as you get older, you realize, hindi na ako ganun ka-flexible. I was doing the bye-bye dance nung yung sa Deadpool. I was trying to practice it. Kaya ko pa rin. Pero parang not as flexible and as fast as I used to be. But, ano pa rin eh. It's that sense of adventure that keeps me going. I mean, I've lived a very adventurous life. Marami pa akong say kwento sa'yo, pero parang siguro pag nagkape na lang tayo. But it's very, very interesting. But at least yung wala akong nire-regret na sayang dapat ginawa ko to, or walang regret kasi whatever it is na sa akin malakas yung if I don't do this, will I regret not doing this later? And wala eh. So, ang dami kong like even the move to go to the US, sinabi ko at least I'm able to say that I lived in the US, I worked in the US, worked as a plumber, and it of course I'm no longer doing it, but parang I'm still able I develop something, I develop the skill. But I've done it. And whatever happens, it's always a good story to tell. So, parang ganun. Yeah.
I love listening to your stories, Direk. Like,
Thank you. Thank you.
I really appreciate all the cuento and learning a lot about you, like, and your experiences, and that you still have this zest for life talaga. And that's, people give up on that, they don't have the energy for it, but you have it. And I think that's really infectious. Like, ginanahan din ako like listening to your stories Parang I'm like, wow. And what you said then about your kids, it's really inspiring to hear that, how you being yourself was enough to influence them in such a profound way. Like, you weren't trying to act the role, you were yourself. I mean, I know that that's not the perfect thing, but then the impact, I guess you won't know it in the moment, but your kid's an adult, he has a kid, and you see it. The effects are there. And I think it's a really good reminder to just be true to yourself, and then your kids will pick up on that. They'll absorb that, and it will shape them into being who they want to be, rather than being who they think they're supposed to be. I think for me, I'm a big believer in that. Be yourself, and you want to encourage your kids to be yourself. And I'm happy we were able to do this, and I really appreciate the time, and I hope we get to chat more.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Ren. Thanks.
Yeah. Best of luck with everything. You have so many things going on.
The Daez podcast.